Alright guys, so I'm going to cover something a little bit more intermediate, I guess, a little bit further into the game than I have in my earlier videos. So what we're going to do is we're going to go for the fast town center opening, but what we're going to do from there is actually try and play what you'd call a long H2. So, as the name suggests, you spend a long time in H2. So on Norse, probably one of the better civs to play this sort of style on. They're notorious for being a civ that can play slightly down on upgrades or on the age up and still be able to have some really good map presence and the ability to even finish games off purely through having an army lead. Probably the best civ in the game for it, I'd say. Or close to, for sure. So we're going to go to 5 villages on the food, stone, and the wood, then work on stone. Want to try and get hunting dogs here, so I'm only going up to 4 villages on the food, and then go up to 5 on the wood, then 5 on the food, to sort of get a little bit more out of hunting dogs and make up for the fact that I'm going to be spending a bit of early game wood. You can actually do a bit of sheep scouting as well. I mean, obviously, there is the risk of losing it, but there is also the advantage of saving a little bit of scouting time, particularly if you do come up against an early game barracks opening from your opponent, and you've really got to try and use your scout as a military unit, or keep tabs on your opponent's military stream. Rather than just having him basically circle around their base, go, oh okay, he's going fast town center just like me, and be able to scan the entire map with your early game scout. And you know, I've got the advantage of being Norse, I've got 2 scouts. So I'm going to age up on 13 villas here, which is pretty normal. This used to be basically the way to play a normal fast town center. There's sort of like an ultra fast 11 to 12 vil town center timing in the original gather rate, but we're no longer able to gather as quickly as we used to. So 13 vil age up, sort of the new ultra fast villager. Ultra fast early town center. So just making sure I've got the gather rate. Sticking with 3 over here, because then I can go queue up another villager and take handsaw as soon as this age up's finished. I'm actually floating slightly more food than I need to, but I'm not really going to worry about that. So just try and go fairly evenly between these. In fact, because you've got to save up 100 more resources than what you used to, it's always nice just to have the house there. It's going to set me back more wood than the other civs, so rather than going up to 6 on the stone, for Norse I'll just stick with more wood gatherers for now. But just use your scouts to try and get as much intel as possible without actually losing the buggers. Figure out what your enemy's actually doing if you want. I guess you can even fit in healing equipment. So we'll do that. Try not to get this guy killed, just park him back at home. Because we're going to be getting this town center, let's put more villagers back on the hunt. Now I can... I'm actually going slightly too many villagers here. We'll put these guys back. And just go there. So now I can actually go for... I haven't really thought this through. This gold here. Or this gold here. In this situation. It's pretty much for much, I think. Oh my god. Still 1 tile too close. There we go. So I really should be using a scout on top of this, just so I'll make sure nothing's actually raiding me. Ideally I'd have one of my scouts parked sort of in front here. The beauty is I'm going to be able to take the gold, save on a storehouse there. I've still got my original gold to fall back to as well. So we know he's on that. So yeah, what I wanted to really show here is really going to start springing into action once I've taken age 3. And, you know, I'm baking a little bit of food. Oh, sorry, not taking age 3. Once I've got production, actually send. Do a swap over as scouts because I want to be able to make use of that build time. Can always do is send a villager to go start on it anyway. In fact, I might have to go for a little wood here as well. So really want to, rather than going for a quick age 3, let's slam out the buildings. Upgrades is also important. We'll delay that slightly. I'll get my first and second production building first. No, we don't want to go too nuts on the wood at this stage because we're going to have to rotate onto other resources as well. The beauty of Norse, got the ability to military build from now on. Keep the scout active. He's got a lot of towers. Puts us up in army. You can assume he's Persia, so this is a good civ to actually play this sort of style into, I find. Make sure you got just enough food to keep in those vills. Go 3 production facilities as quick as we can here. Just machine gun out production at this point. I get pickaxe here as well. Still banking a little bit of gold. We've got to make sure we've still got the gold income that we're going to need to keep producing through all this. Now my military production is really kicking up, so bring these guys back. I fit wheelbarrow in. Actually, we'll delay it slightly. More military is important. If I can fit in a 4th production facility at this point, and by now, if he hasn't moved out on you at all, he's going to be trying to age up. But there is like a 90% chance that's what he's doing. If he hasn't tickled your pickle at all at this point in the game. So yeah, we got a relatively high number of wood gatherers, even though we're not going for any wood army investment other than throwing axemen. So like at this point with the other civs, you probably have slightly more gold gatherers, slightly less wood gatherers. Norse. That plus needing to have 100 wood banked at a time. Yeah, you probably want slightly more wood than you would on any of the other wood on wood than you would on any of the other melee only civs at this point, because technically throwing axemen are melee, right? So even though they're actually ranged, the game considers them melee. Keep that income up. We can actually add in war dogs here. But your imperative at this point is probably to start on your armory upgrades. Just make sure you can afford to get all the way up to 160 army population as quickly as possible. I'm pushing a little bit early here. I'm actually probably going to have to back off in a moment because the sheer number of towers that he's got. I'm really going to have to get a lot of raiders here. But yeah, the idea is now just to try and hit that 160 population mark quicker than your opponent does, because he's trying to go for a quick age 3. And even though he's going to be able to get that 3rd town centre before you potentially even get an army tech advantage out before you're really going. Beauty is you've got the units in the here and now. The more times you can actually pressure him, the better. So it might even be a good idea to send some or even all of your raiders or your melee cavalry on the other civs to go on pressure. Actually banking a little bit too much wood here. But the beauty is I'm Norse, so I can go straight into gathering with the vills and use the army to play catch up on my military production here. I'm going to want that armory there. I think I just saw the AI aged up there. So the beauty is, a bit of raiding damage done. Actually get killed. We'll just go in and try and take out as many of these towers as we fucking can. Because he's turtled to invest in that. He hasn't got a lot of army. We eventually want to move back onto this original gold mine. Pick off a bit there. Just focus down the archers, even with the throwing axemen in particular with Norse. Been super successful here. But the beauty is, he's sort of stuck now, constantly taking fights in early age 3 before he's really able to afford any upgrades here. Most of the time players actually probably sit in age 2 even longer. Probably should have just got a stables there. Early temper, because pure melee. Keep tabs on resources around the map. Make him have to go to farm eco before you do. Always very handy. I mean, I could invest in throwing axemen, the outposts, but it is also nice just to really beef up that raid account first. Just always make sure you're not gathering too much of one resource. Let's try and engage me over here. So, if he ever actually tries to meet you with his army, always just back it off, bring the whole army together. Make him overextend and come to you. Doesn't matter if you got more shit or he's got more shit. It's just what you're gonna want to do. Get shield rim because he's got that range damage. And I mean, playing Norse with any aggressive sort of style, like long age 2 or any sort of proxy early game, you probably don't have to worry so much as you wouldn't with other builds with early game aggression. I mean, with early game building placement, because you're going to be creeping forward constantly anyway. And now basically, I've probably thrown away a little bit much my early game trades here. Let's just try and max out as quickly as you can. Actually, you can just take that fight. He hasn't really got a lot of melee there, has he? Stuff that will hope you do. So yeah, just max out. Try push with armory upgrades before your opponent's able to, and before he's able to really make use of age 3. It's just sort of the idea of all this. Scour now. There we go, he's just hit age 3 now actually. I thought he'd gotten it a couple of minutes ago, I was mistaken. But knowing that, now's really the time to sort of break him, as we're nearing that 160 pop mark, even after a couple of fights. We've got the production to really get there, and on Norse as well, go well past the sort of normal unit cap, because you've got your war dogs as well. So you don't want to waste them under ranged damage if you can help it. You really just want to have them sort of buffer your infantry from being hit by any sort of other melee. And then you just want to get ready for your age up as well. So at this stage, you know, start gathering a bit more stone. Actually, I might even end up with a bit too much stone there. Reshuffle your food gatherers as you need be. And if the moment you start pushing like this and really making ground and knowing that I don't need to tech at all from here on out, basically, other than getting age 3 for the town center cap and for champion upgrades, just make sure you're killing the important things. So killing eco is nice, but killing his army off so your own army isn't getting killed, so you can then clean up his eco for good, just as important. Not standing in range damage radiuses, unless you know you can just stick around and actually clear the buildings. Another good thing to keep in mind. In fact, I've actually probably got to start on farm eco at this point, because particularly with Norse and some of the others, you've got such a greedy food eco. Don't be afraid to get flour even in the winning position here. Snipe his military production as well, or all of his houses if they're placed conveniently for you to do so. And yeah guys, that's a bit of an idea on how to play long age 2 style Norse. One thing I probably didn't emphasize enough was actually raiding, but against players, they probably will play slightly more expansively on the resources and slightly less heavy on the towers. Particularly if it's to go for hunts, just because of the bonus to food economy. Or to try and go for these resources at the back of their base. Players will like to instinctively work their way from back to front against other players, unless they're playing typically Norse or Roman. Like at this position now, I've got Facebook money here. Like I've got so much resources, no way of spending them. I actually probably sat in age 3 a little long, so age 2 a little long. So it's just important to get as many production facilities as you're going to need from here on out. Add a 3rd armory. Maybe even take range damage. I probably wouldn't in a real game as Norse because I just hate playing around ranged on them. Personally, I'm sort of someone that can play just about start to end game melee on just about every civ. One way or another, although it does limit me at times. So keep gathering stone and wood because now you can start getting fortresses. And yeah guys, that's sort of what it looks like to play a longer age 2, delayed age 3 style. I'll cover fast age 3 style stuff in the next couple of videos and some more things, so stay tuned.